Hello and welcome to the show. I'm Mike Hanna. The message delivered in words and action, and the White House says the US and Israeli partnership is the closest in the world. US President Barack Obama and Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu met earlier this week. They reiterated their friendship in front of the cameras, full of praise for each other. Much discussion about unified policies, but little reference to those that still divide. The predominant area of division in the past, the question of settlements. When Obama initially took office, he strongly endorsed Palestinian demands for a total freeze on Israeli settlement building. In following months, though, a gradual shift in position. The demand for total freeze became a request for a temporary one. And now the US catchphrase as a precursor to direct talks is no preconditions. Obama is urging the Palestinian side to restart talks before Israel's self-imposed temporary freeze on settlement building expires in September.
My hope is that once direct talks have begun, well before the moratorium has expired, that will create a climate in which everybody feels a greater investment in success. Not every action by one party or the other is taken as a reason for not engaging in talks.
Well, joining me to discuss the topic in Washington, D.C., Jeffrey Aronson, Director of Research at the Foundation for Middle East Peace. In New York, Bret Stephens, Foreign Affairs columnist at the Wall Street Journal. And in Beirut, Asad Abukhalil, a professor of political science at California State University. Welcome to you all. Well, earlier there in those pictures, we saw President Obama walking Netanyahu to his car, something that he's seldom done for any head of state. Jeffrey Aronson in Washington, why do you think the U.S. president was so keen to show that relations with Israel are now so close?
Well, certainly it does mark a departure, at least in the atmospherics, from past discussions with the Israeli Prime Minister. I think President Obama himself has been quite clear in last month's meeting with PA Chairman Mahmoud Abbas. He described the negotiations that were being conducted under his stewardship as having reached a dead end. So it's clear that they're looking for a new way, in a sense, to reset relations with Israel and to perhaps retool its diplomacy in the discussions between Israel and the Palestinians. So I think what we're seeing here is a transition to, in a sense, a more traditional U.S. engagement in diplomacy between Israel and the Palestinians, away from, it looks like, specific confrontation over settlements, and trying to put that in a more manageable box than it's been for the past year and a half.
Bret Stephens in New York, do you see this as a process of Obama trying to take pressure off Israel in the interest of pushing negotiations forward?
Well, I think Obama seems to have realized the extent of his blunder in his previous efforts to pressure the Israelis. The history of Israeli-Arab peacemaking is typically connected with assurances by Washington for Jerusalem that whatever concessions the Israelis would make or withdrawals the Israelis would make in terms of territory would be reciprocated by favors, security guarantees, diplomatic favors, economic backing from Washington. And in the last 18 months, those assurances seem to have vanished in a very frosty atmosphere between Jerusalem and Washington. So I think that the president, with the courtesies that he extended to the Israeli Prime Minister this week, is trying to reset relations in a manner that is likely to be more productive, at least as far as getting Israel to move forward is concerned.
Well, Asad Abukhalil in Beirut, I mean, what do you think is the reason for this clear new tenor in the relationship?
Well, I think I probably am more cynical than the two previous guests, although I agree with Jeffrey that this is a change in atmospheric but not in substance. Barack Obama has not deviated since the presidential campaign from a wholesale endorsement of Israeli, not Israeli government, Israeli militancy, hardline Israeli policies and actions, war actions all over the Middle East, in Lebanon as well as in Gaza. I think the previous guest, I forgot the name, he said something about assurances for Israel, which is in fact ironic, if not all the way pathetic or outrageous. I mean, the state that has an arsenal of biological, nuclear, and chemical weapons, and the state that is the largest recipient of U.S. aid, a state that has a per capita income comparable to that of United Kingdom, a state that has launched war on more than attacked more than 7 Arab countries in the last few decades, needs assurances, and the Palestinian weak party needs no assurances at all. And if the previous guest is correct, that Israel requires assurances for the so-called peace process, how come after all these accumulated history of assurances, we still do not have peace anywhere in the Middle East? And if anything, Israel has become more aggressive than before. I think as we get close to the elections in November, the President of the United States, like his predecessor, is pre-positioning himself to become more pro-Israeli than before. I think this should put an end to naive, if not all outright dumb Arab wishful thinking about the orientations of Barack Obama. He will prove yet again that since Jimmy Carter, every American president, with the exception of George Bush Sr., has proven to be more pro-Israeli than his predecessor.
Well, let's put your opinions to Bret Stephens. Your response?
Well, leaving aside efforts to personally denigrate me, let's just look at the history. Israel withdrew from the Sinai Peninsula following the Camp David Accords of the late 1970s because it got from the Carter administration guarantees of military and economic support. Israel had a famously close relationship with President Clinton, under whose stewardship the Oslo Accords took place. Israel withdrew unilaterally from the Gaza Strip, following assurances from the Bush administration that it would not expect in the West Bank a withdrawal to the 1967 lines and to the 1949 armistice lines. So I think we have to simply look at the record. Whatever my colleague in Beirut would like to think, ultimately no peace is going to happen without the concurrence of a democratic government in Jerusalem, and that democratic government has to be mindful of its security interests, which some of us in the rest of the world think are actually legitimate. And so for the United States to move away from Israel when Israel faces hostility in Europe, faces a wall of hostility in the rest of the Middle East and much of the rest of the world, is wishful thinking. The best guarantee for Israeli security and ultimately